And welcome back. Joining us now is Herman Cain, I am very happy to say. Of course, a former presidential candidate and talk show host, and of course, former CEO of a very, very successful pizza chain. Hello, Mr. Cain, sir. Good to talk to you again.
Steve, it's my pleasure. Happy to be with you.
Always great to talk to you. I think back to that time you were in with the Americans for Prosperity. You did a rally down right
Yes.
by the Lower Manhattan, and I was so brutally hot. My studios were like 3 blocks away, and by the time I walked over there, it was sweating. I tell you, living in New York through this winter, I long for that kind of heat.
That's right, especially with the winters that they've had up there this year.
Well, that's
You're
global
absolutely
warming, right? Global warming.
It is? Yeah, right. Yeah, tell me about it.
All right, so
it's called global freezing.
That's it. Global freezing is right. All right, so big victory yesterday down in Florida for the Republicans. Of course, Debbie Wasserman Schultz said that the Republican candidate underperformed, but this could be a bellwether, no?
I think, the only time I've ever agreed with Debbie Wasserman Schultz is that, yes, the Republican candidate really should have won by a bigger amount. But it wasn't because of what she said. She said it's because Obamacare is so popular. I don't agree with that at all. Obamacare is not popular. I happen to believe that the only takeaway from that race, that special election in Florida, the only takeaway is the Republicans held on to the seat. End of story. And here's why, Steve. That was one of 435 congressional districts, and every congressional district is different. Secondly, I agree with what David Jolly said when he was doing an interview earlier this morning, and that is Republicans can't just run against the failed Obamacare plan. They have also got to talk about some other things that they would do and some other solutions. And the one that, for some reason, they keep avoiding is replacing the tax code. I don't know why they won't get on that, because I think that would resonate with the American people.
Well, there was an effort by the outgoing House Ways and Means chairman, David Camp, I believe, who with that fourth, and Boehner, refused to bring that up. And I think the reasoning was, you don't want to bring up something where people are going to have problems with, for instance, mortgage deductions. Some popular deductions would go bye-bye, and they felt this isn't the time to muddy the waters when they have such a clear-cut path to victory in 2014, they believe.
But they don't have such a clear-cut path to victory. And here's the thing. If you are half-stepping and you put a half solution on the table, then people are going to start saying, well, what's going to happen to my mortgage interest deduction and all these other deductions? Talk about replacing the tax code, and everybody wins. And then all you have to do is to put the Democrats in a corner and make them defend the existing tax code. So I totally disagree with Boehner's strategy. I applaud Dave Kemp for at least trying to do something, but they don't go far enough on replacing the tax code, which is why some of them get nervous and they chicken out on the solution rather than be bold about it.
What do you think of CPAC?
I did not attend CPAC this year.
Did you
I
have a
only
chance
heard
to,
some of the clips. I read one story about CPAC saying that it had a very libertarian bent, and that's probably why Rand Paul won the straw poll.
Right.
But let me tell you something about that straw poll, Steve. I remember a couple of years ago when I was a speaker at CPAC, and Ron Paul won
Yes,
CPAC.
he did. Yep.
That was the same year that I spoke. I didn't win CPAC, but I ended up placing higher in the Republican polls when it came to the Republican nomination.
Right.
So I really don't think that the CPAC straw poll says anything about how people are going to be feeling once we get into the presidential politics.
Let me ask you this. The president's poll numbers out today from the Wall Street Journal, NBC News, down to 41%, which is down from January at 43%. 54% say they are not in favor of the president's performance, and the country's split on the congressional who they'd like to see take over Congress. But 41%. It just keeps going down and down, but he's not backing off, Herman. He's doubling down on, I have a pen, and now his new thing is, mandating overtime
Yes.
for many, many millions of workers in this country, which is going to, again, you're a businessman, you tell me. He wants to raise the minimum wage, and he wants now mandatory overtime, mandatory leave. He's just trying to destroy business, is he not?
He is exactly trying to destroy businesses. And the only reason that I believe that his approval rating is still what it is, even though it hit an all-time low, is that you have a lot of people, quite frankly, Steve, that are just gullible or clueless. That's all that is. They're talking to a lot of people who have absolutely no idea what's going on. But the reason that it continues to drop is that more and more people are starting to wake up when they experience Obamacare sticker shock for themselves, or when they experience they can't find a job. Then it starts to hit home. But until then, that's the only reason he's able to continue to try and pander to people with things like raise the minimum wage, change the overtime rules. All he's trying to do is to pander to people, thinking that that's going to buy some votes. It may buy a few, but I don't believe long-term it's going to buy enough.
Let me ask you a question. How far has the GOP come or gone in its effort to recruit, if you will, or educate, if you will? I don't want to seem to be demeaning in any of the terminology, blacks and Hispanics, to inform them that guess what? You probably agree more with Republicans than you do Democrats. And I point to Wendy Davis in Texas. She in the primary for to run for governor, Democratic primary. She didn't do well in Hispanic communities, and many people feel it's because of the abortion issue. I mean, on life, on traditional marriage, on morals, on education, they have so much more in common in general. I don't say every black or every Hispanic like the left does, but in general with the Republican Party. So you know, how much more? Not how much more. Have in the last 4 years, Herman, have the Republican Party done anything of significance in your view to go out there and spread that word?
No, they have not. And this has been one of the biggest bones I've had to pick with the Republican Party, especially the Republican leadership. And Reince Priebus, I have a lot of respect for. I had high hopes for him when he got that job. He got reelected as chairman of the Republican National Committee. But they have not done enough, Steve. And let me tell you what I mean by that. The Republican Party does not need to pander to blacks and Hispanics, Asians, or any other ethnic group. They need to just show up and clearly explain what the Republican Party stands for. They are not doing that. They think that all they have to do is to mention the fact that they want to reach out, when in fact it turns out that they're not reaching out because they don't know how to engage those communities. When I ran for president, Steve, I was a face. Allen West was a face when he was a congressman. Ken Blackwell is a face of the Republican Party. We didn't have to pander to people. All you have to do is to put those faces out there and tell the story about what it is that we're trying to do. They don't do a good job of articulating the narrative, and those people that run for offices as Republicans, they don't do a good job of it either. This is where I think that, number one, it would be easy to do, and number two, they simply need to put some effort behind it to make it happen.
You know, to be fair, you know, I have no problem with what you said, but you know, I had Michael Steele on right after he was elected RNC chair, I guess back in whenever it was, when I was at WOR Radio, and he said, you know, I'll come to New York, and you know, you could go with me if you want. We'll go into neighborhoods in Harlem and blah 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 and reach out. That never happened either, and he of course was African American.
You're absolutely right. Michael, I know Michael is someone that I've known for a number of years, but there again, he got caught up in the things that the RNC was normally doing. I thought Michael was going to bring a different energy and a different direction and a more concentrated effort of getting the Republican message out. And quite frankly, he did not do that because he inherited a staff at the RNC and basically got caught up in all of the traditional demands of the office rather than establishing new initiatives in the office.
Hey, Herman, I got 10 seconds. You have any interest down the road in the RNC chairmanship?
No, I do not.
Okay, just wanted to clear that up. Are you running for president? Are you